Middle school. It's a place between dimensions where frankly everything is possible. I think all of us have some kind of story related to middle school that makes our toes curl either out of cringe or absolute absurdity. You get into contact with people that, in retrospective, you don't even find words for, and I don't know if that's just my luck of being the alternative autistic art kid, but heck, did I get to know a lot of weird people. Not that I was any better between 12 and 15 years old. I was weird as hell, even cringe, if you will. But dear God, today I want to tell you the lovely story about when I regretted befriending the weird Christian girl in my class. And I tell you, it's getting wild. Be prepared for molestation, emotional abuse, and the reasons why I developed a hand-washing obsession in my mid-teens. Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am Hawkblood or Laura, and I hope you all are doing okay. Middle school friendships, they are just one of a kind. Luckily, I am now in a place where I can laugh about some of the bizarre relationships I had towards the weirdest people, even though there has happened a lot of fucked up shit that shouldn't be laughed about. While it shred me to pieces back then, I am able to tell weird and funny stories today. And hey, those experiences still shaped me into who I am today, so who knows who I would be today if I haven't had these bizarre adventures, if you will. As I just said, let us talk about the Christian girl from my middle school class. Let's call her Cecilia, because that is also a quite generic Italian name, because she had, indeed, a very generic Italian name, which of course, no shame to that. She was definitely one of a kind, both in positive and negative. Well, actually more negative ways. I am sorry. However, I remember her as starting out as a very popular and well-received girl. Like, everyone was cool with her, but you know, we were also like 10 years old. Let's just state she was quite popular in the beginning of middle school. I personally didn't pay a lot of attention to her because I was worrying about art and star stable probably. But after the first years of middle school, you got wind of some dramas unwrapping around her. Like, she switched a lot of friend groups, which she did before, but then it was becoming changing groups more out of spite than out of actual connection towards all the people. Typical middle schooler drama evolved about, blah, she called me a lesbian and tells lies about me. The girls in my class indeed were absolute beasts if it came to emotional abuse. Like, they were constantly fighting and no one really believed the accusations around Cecilia of being sneaky and rude, or what we call in German hinterfotzig. But no one really believed these accusations because if you talked to her one-on-one, she was always super nice and sweet, so you believed what you saw and experienced with her. Most of the quote-unquote neutral people liked her. I myself obviously was part of the alternative art kid group, so we witnessed all of that more out of an observing position. Cecilia switched around friend groups almost weekly until she reached a point where no one of our classmates wanted to actively be around her anymore. So, what are you doing if you angered all of the kids? No one wants to talk to you anymore except the art kids? Right, you start harassing them. So eventually the bullying towards her became so bad that she started to spend time with our friend group. We gave her the benefit of the doubt that the accusations and bullying towards her were false claims just to tear someone down for fun. Some of those claims involved lying, belittling others, and playing like she's the boss, and just being a general asshole. Since she was super nice and almost submissive towards us, we were convinced that those were just false claims, as already said. So we started to spend time with her, and oh my god, literally she was so desperate, which is totally reasonable in her situation, but girl, if the people you spend time with don't share the same values as you and you feel uncomfortable by that, then fuck off. both aimed at past Cecilia and past me. For the record, Cecilia was quite Christian, and with quite I mean very Christian. And usually I get along with Christians quite well until they find out I'm interested in goth and alternative lifestyle. That's just how it is. Cecilia had views on things that we as a group definitely didn't share, especially in regards of queer people and nonconformity, and she voiced that multiple times, but overall we didn't really care a lot. At that time, I used to still be a very big people pleaser, and I wanted Cecilia to feel included in our group, so I spent an extra amount of time with her, which was a very big misconception of me. The other people in our friend group already didn't like her a lot due to her queerphobic worldview, but I believed that I can change her. So I gave her a chance. That resulted in her stripping me away from my friends. She started to isolate me by telling me she feels anxious around the others in our group and feels like they hate her, and that she is developing social anxiety due to the bullying of the others and only feels comfortable around me, and that I'm her best friend. I felt pity for her, so I tried to help her by sticking to her and support her in a very tricky time. What I didn't know back then is that she, behind my back, told my friends in the friend group she isolated me from by constantly wanting to spend alone time with me. She started telling them that I talked shit about them and that I treat her wrong and that I am the one who doesn't want her to spend time with them. My bestie told me years later that Cecilia, whenever she had the possibility to do so without me noticing, she just went to my friends and talked shit about me, turning things around, claiming I do stuff to her which she did to me, which is a pattern you will notice throughout this video. But yeah, it happened that I was more and more isolated from my original friends who started to believe, due to the lies of Cecilia, that I am a horrible person, body shaming her and tearing her down, when in reality I did the exact opposite. I told her that she is good enough and has to try not to listen to her bullies who badly body shamed her for being a little on the chubbier side and having extreme acne outbreaks. But guess who shamed me for not getting treated for my acne at that time? Not getting my tooth gap fixed and being generally thin. Who shamed me for being alternative and wanted me to quote-unquote fix myself to fit her ideals? Who shamed everything I like? Who said that my art is a waste of time? Who told me that equine sports and being around horses is embarrassing? Who told me gaming isn't for women? I just overall tried to comfort her in the very tricky situation of literally everyone hating her. And the sad thing is that due to my good faith in people, I still thought that I can help her to the better. I didn't see that she just used me for her benefits to show others that there are still people who like her and she isn't half as bad as everyone claims. I also remember her making me quite expensive gifts whenever I said that I want to spend more time with the others again, because I sensed that something is off about her. Like, whenever that happened, she would gift me expensive jewelry, or like one time I remember very vividly, because wolves back then were my favorite animals. She gifted me a wolf pillow that was like part of a wolf welfare program where with each purchase you get like an assigned wolf that you can track in the wild via a code you get, and that pillow was like 50 or 60 bucks. Like, girl, you're 14, where the fuck do you get that money from? But yeah, whenever she noticed that I wanted to leave her, she started love bombing me to keep me with her, which worked of course because I was 12. Time went on and we both ended as outcasts being bullied. The other kids that before were indifferent towards me now believe that I am sympathizing with a manipulative asshole, and my friends believe that I am a manipulative asshole that needs undivided attention. It was even so bad at one point that our parents even considered putting us into another school that was a Catholic girls-only school, which is a whole story for another day. But that was also a thing that happened. Ironically, it only started then that I am allowed to visit her home. Before, we only ever met up at my place. I have never seen her home before. And it was so weird because before I could visit her, her mom came into play and wanted to befriend my mom in a similar way Cecilia did to me, like giving her tons of presents and wanting her undivided attention. Like when my dad was home, Cecilia's mom would also only talk to my mother and ignore my dad. It was just fucking weird. But after I got the okay to come over at her place, she lived only like 2 streets away from me. I was, I think, a handful of times at her place before we had our fallout. But dear God, that was enough to traumatize me and fucking cause me OCD. Cecilia always was a dog girl, talking about her 2 dogs, and back then I loved dogs, especially big dogs. I wanted a dog additionally to my cat, and I was just thrilled to meet her 2 dogs. Let me tell you, these dogs are the reason I cannot touch dogs today anymore, especially dogs with long fur. She had 2 Briar dogs, insert random Google picture here. Big dogs, which I was fine with, and long-haired dogs, which I was fine with as well, until I fucking touched them. And I do get that Briars are supposed to be washed and brushed only once a week, but these dogs' fur care definitely wasn't done for several weeks. It was so fucking disgusting, like I still get heebie-jeebies and goosebumps if I think about it today. Like, these dogs felt extremely greasy and oily, and as if someone had dusted them in low-gritted flour with crushed up leaf or other crunchy but soft shards of something. It just felt so fucking disgusting, and even though I washed my hands multiple times afterwards, the feelings on my hands wouldn't go away for multiple days. And I cannot blame the dogs for it, but they constantly wanted to be pet and rub their bodies and heads onto people. Also, like, while we were eating. And I don't know if that's just my neurodivergent experience, but that feeling on my hands and my body and clothes for multiple days was so upsetting to me that I developed an obsessive hand washing compulsion for at least 6 months afterwards. To this day, I still have issues touching dogs, especially long-haired dogs, because I am scared that it will trigger these obsessive compulsions again. And it just sucks because I do like dogs, but I don't like them as much anymore out of that fear, and yeah, it just sucks. There were also just so many weird things about her and her mom. Like, when I ate lunch with them, they prayed beforehand, which totally okay, no issues with that. But they only started eating once the guest, in this case me, finished their portion, or their first portion, which was very confusing to me because I just don't like being watched while eating. I have extreme anxiety about people watching me eat. It has been getting better, but don't fucking stare at me while eating, please. One time we went to an art fair with both of our mothers as like a mother-daughter thing, and Cecilia always held the hand of her mom, which on a massive art fair with thousands of people is totally reasonable. I still do it today when going on big events with my mom. But like whenever her mom let go of her hand, she would freeze and start to cover herself, almost crying. And that wasn't only on that fair, it was also like generally when her and her mom were outside. But hey, all of these things may be weird, but they are half bad. We're getting into the very bad things now. Please keep the warnings from the beginning in mind, just in case, and stay safe. So, during that time span of my teen years, I finally figured out that I am in fact a fellow asexual, and I was very, touched by that. It made me feel very confused and unlovable. Just the struggle of understanding your own identity. I was very uncomfortable with talking about sexual matter during that time because it instantly reminded me that I am different, and she knew that. I talked to her about my struggles with finding my sexuality, which she obviously was a bit weirded out by due to her queer phobia, but since I was asexual and that's closer to God than being gay apparently, she was okay with it. And let me mention again that this girl was a very Christian person, policing others to behave right in the eyes of God. Keep that in mind for a second. One afternoon, I was at her place having semi-fun after a very awkward pancake lunch with lots of staring at me while eating and greasy dogs rubbing their heads onto me. We went into her room talking a bit about stuff she showed me around once again. I think we crafted something with those loom bands back then, if you still remember. We just did girly pop things that tween girls like to do. Then she remembered something she saw on YouTube, which was a documentary about reborn dolls. If you don't know what reborn dolls are, they're shortly explained realistic dolls of infants that are often used for people who either lost their child as a way of trauma therapy or people who cannot conceive, but that's already all I know about reborn dolls. But she wanted to show me that documentary about those reborn dolls and was furious about them because she was convinced that they channel the devil or something. I don't know, I didn't listen to her full explanation to why she thought that. All I remember and recall is that she was extremely hateful towards them for the reason of God. However, she started to stretch the topic of those dolls to ask me how I want to conceive a child if I am asexual, or some shit that related these dolls to my sexuality. We talked a bit about it. I explained to her that I don't plan to have children in the next at least 20 years. She told me she doesn't believe me, that I am asexual, opened Pornhub, looked at me and said that she does want to watch porn animations with me now, and started playing a video. I wish that was a joke. I dearly wish that was a joke and I made all of this up. But yeah, due to my extreme repulsion towards sexual matter, I dissociated, and so I don't remember how I got out of this situation. I just recall standing in front of her window telling her how that action deeply hurt me, and that's it. I believe I left her place shortly after. I seriously don't remember much anymore, but if I get the chance to find my old diary again and something about this event is in it, then I will write it into the description. I don't even have the right words to describe that situation other than apparently I happened to be sexually harassed and forced to watch porn by an extreme Christian girl at age 13. Why does stuff like that always happen to me? I don't know, but apparently it does happen to me. She never apologized and was very convinced that she was in the right and allowed to just do that because she didn't believe me that I am asexual. Shortly after that, we had our fallout. I try to keep it short because that is also quite lengthy and complicated, and retelling it will be cryptic anyways. Might do an in-depth retelling of that exact event as well one day, but yeah, just let's keep it short for today. So, on one day in spring, we had our final fallout that crashed everything. We had received a biology exam and I got an A and she received a B as a grade, which already pissed her off to no end. That's always how great things start, isn't it? But she was super pissed off by that, and later that school day I made some obvious sarcastic jokes about our relationship, and she took that so personal that she wouldn't talk to me in coherent sentences anymore. Only like one-word sentences, like yes, no, and just one-word sentences. We established in our lunch breaks that we would go to my place and eat lunch there instead of the cafeteria, because I lived like 2 minutes away from our school and the food of the cafeteria sucked, so we always went at my place. That afternoon, she wouldn't speak a word to me while at my place and eating with me after I cooked a simple meal, and she ate basically all of it without leaving me food. And after that, she was just laying on the couch, not looking at me a single time. After that, she would ignore me. I didn't know what was going on, but then she sprinted out of my home, back to school again. I followed her, asking her what is up, and she just said that I am mistreating her by starving her in our lunch breaks. And that moment, I snapped. That was the one and only time I ever fucking snapped out of anger so much that I wasn't able to control myself anymore. But I fucking snapped, and all the abuse I endured of her the past month were clear to me now, and I started screaming at her, asking her if she is aware about how she actually treated me, and that if someone mistreated someone, it was her mistreating me. She started crying, accusing me of lying, and running into the school building, screaming that I would have punched her in the face and that I want to end her life, which all the other kids witnessed, which just made me even more angry that she would put out such a lie. She ran into the girls' bathroom, locking herself in with another girl that she, the whole time, claimed towards me is the girl bullying her the most, and they were giggling. I later was told that they regularly hung out after school and actually were best friends. I was just super angry, still screaming at her that she has to stop fucking lying to me. And then the school's social worker showed up. That woman is a whole nother story as well, but she showed up calming me down, talked to Cecilia after she came out of the bathroom stall and that other girl left. She sent me home because in rage I banged my hand onto the tiles in the restroom and I cut the side of my hand and my knuckles open. Cecilia told everyone what she had claimed before, so everyone would view me as an aggressive asshole while she received the pity and everyone suddenly was friends with her again. I mean, sure, it wasn't okay that I snapped and screamed at her, but yeah, everyone hated me and I thought I was the worst person. I don't know how I recovered from that incident of me snapping and everyone witnessing it, and I seriously also don't want to know. Somehow I reunited with my art friends after that, and everything calmed down again after an extremely exhausting month in school. Some months and finally a year after, the tables have turned again because she pulled the same shit with other people again who, unlike me, collected evidence of little letters they wrote in class. Whoa. So the claims about her officially have been proven. People started believing me again and stopped seeing me as an abusive villain that punches and starves people for no reason. And the story is coming to an end. Finally. It was just a very wild friendship. Put that friendship in quotation marks as well. But yeah, it was just wild. I am glad I came out of this relationship relatively okay. Abuse is always traumatizing and will always leave marks behind, but I am happy that I can stand past what has happened. I don't know what Cecilia's doing today. I think she wanted to get into the medical field. I think she also did that. Who knows? Who knows? I know that all of the people from her school years cut contact with her and aren't on good terms with her. That's all I know. I also think she moved away because I don't see her or her mom walk the dogs in our neighborhood anymore since years now, which maybe is for the better. But yeah, that's overall the story of how my Christian friend abused me. How fun! Is there a moral of the story? Probably not, other than sometimes accusations about people are true, sometimes they're not. But if you're here for the drama points, I hope you felt entertained. I'm just happy that I finally talked about these happenings again and kinda come to a close with them. I just hope you liked the art and the little longer video today. I know I struggle with keeping up the monthly upload and the desire to post at least twice a month, but there's just a lot of stuff going on in life which I want to wrap up in my next sketchbook session video if you're interested. But yeah, I I hope the lack of videos can be made up with a little longer videos if I post some. So yeah, thank you so much for watching and listening to this point. Don't forget to subscribe and tell me if you had weird middle school relationship experiences as well. I hope I am not the only one who is cursed. Also, tell me if you want to hear about the other stories I can tell from my time in middle school that are similarly twisted to this one. Until next time, stay safe and stay hydrated. Thank you so much.